That's the AVCO Roofing, that's the company.
So
Look at that.
so I just got so angry.
Wow, so it's your competitor.
Yeah.
Are you willing to give away one CatchAll system for one of our fans at Roofing Insights?
What's up, brother?
Hey, what about distancing? Stay away from me. Don't give me no corona.
We've already had it, I'm sure. Yeah, you can pull on that, you can stand on it, you can jump
What's the
on
material?
it. So it's HDPE threads, which is a type of plastic with UV filament and fire retardant, in a warp knitted fabric, which means every one of these little knots is knotted like a old lady knitting. So if you get a little cut here, it doesn't spread to the rest of the net. It just stays right there, it doesn't spread.
Let's talk about CatchAll. How did you come up with the idea?
So I was, a sales guy in the field in people's front yards for 7 years every day. And I just dealt with disappointed or frustrated customers so many times about things that in the beginning of my career I thought were small details. A few nails in a flower bed, a bush here or there got trampled a little bit. And to me, I'm like, man, this is a construction site. This is like a small thing. You can't expect to rip off 6,000 shingles and 24,000 nails and not have a few nails in your yard. That's just an unreasonable expectation. So this net right here is 40 feet wide. That's one net. It goes around that corner there and around there. I got 3 of those. So you see this one here, there's one going around there, and then there's one down that backside. On this job, it's pretty complicated. I'll walk you around. They have 2 other nets. For your average house, we put one kind of on each side of the front door, and then one maybe over the air conditioner or around the back door or something like that.
But how many feet is in one?
120 linear feet of those nets.
120 is one.
Of those nets. The nets that go on the ground, like the ones you can see over the bushes right there, you get 150 feet of those. And then there's a more simple net, which is like the ones we have down here, you get 60 extra feet of those. So altogether you get 120 plus 150 plus 60. That was the perspective I was given when I was trained, and that's the standard which I started out installing people's roofs to. Of course I would clean up the job, but I expected there to be some nails left. I just thought it was a part of the deal. And I just continually had customers that were unhappy about foot traffic in the grass. They could see where everyone had been walking or working or rolling their wheelbarrows, or their flowers that I tarped over had gotten kind of smashed down and it was going to take a week or two for them to spring back up. They were upset about that, and my perspective was, you shouldn't be upset about that because it's just a part of the problem, a part of the deal. But after the 100th customer, my brain started to kick in. I'm like, man, the customer's always right. I got to figure out a way to solve this, because I am tired of getting calls back or having people who won't give me referrals or people who want to give negative reviews or something that I thought was just kind of unreasonable. This system just like saved our lives on this one, and then the other side's even worse. Like we're protecting the neighbor's house on this side and that side, because it's such a tiny area, and with all there's flowers and bushes all the way down all sides of this house, completely landscaped. And we would be destroying that stuff. And even if we didn't destroy it, we'd be cleaning for like 3 hours here to get it clean.
Does the sunlight still go through it?
Yes.
And tarps, it's not.
Well, what happens in a tarp is it traps the heat behind it and the moisture, and it cooks the plants. But the wind blows through, it keeps it cool just fine. Here, come look at this.
So if you leave it for a couple of days, plant is not going to be destroyed?
No, the big video that we did, we left everything there for 5 days while we were shooting the video. Everything's fine.
Even the grass?
Everything, especially the grass, yeah.
So it's black, but it's still, I guess because it's breathable.
Yeah, that's right. The heat doesn't build up underneath it.
Wow.
So see here, like...
You came up with the idea? Morning or evening?
Oh man, I ideated on this for probably 4 years. Started with tarps and trying to hang them from the gutters and nail them into the fascias and all kinds of stuff. And then all kinds of plywood and, yeah, so look down here. This is the neighbor's wall. We actually have the system leaning this way, covering the neighbor's wall, because it's so close to the house.
Okay.
Yeah, so on this job right here, it'll probably save 3 hours of cleanup. The reality is, if 1 in 10 of your customers is upset about something like that, you got to fix it. And if it's 1 in 100, you should still probably pay attention to it. If it's 1 in 1,000, I get it. You can't make everybody happy. But when it's consistent and it comes up
once a week or once a month, you really should try to change it.
Agree 100%.
And so, I started doing everything I could with tarps and plywood sheets and 2x4s, building, temporary protection, doghouse type things over important bushes or flowers or whatever it was. And I got pretty good at not letting the landscape get damaged, but I could never solve the nails problem. It just drove me crazy. So then I started finding the crews, for a job site that had nails left. And of course, crews hate that. That's not a good way to move forward with your crews, is finding your crews for that. So then I started bonusing the project managers for a clean job site. I tried to flip the psychology of it and make it a bonus, and it didn't work. So then I bought the world's most powerful rolling magnets. They're made in Denver. They're like $750 a piece. They're extra wide. They're really deep. It's supposed to lift like 1,000 pounds or something like that. And it didn't work because the nails that are stuck down in the grass just don't come out. Once people have walked on them,
they don't.
No, when you roll your magnet over there, people who've never really looked, if you look after your crew and you really, really look, if those nails got in the grass, a good portion of them are still there. Because they got stepped on and they're down in the dirt or the grass, and then as soon as it rains, all that little dirt washes away and that nail goes beep, and that's the call you get a week later or 2 weeks later. Or the nails that fall down out of the downspout or something like that, they start showing up. Or the nails that are hanging in a bush that fall out over a couple days, that kind of stuff. It's just really, really difficult to get them all. So I tried those magnets, then I tried metal detectors. So those magnets, I bought one for every crew and for every project manager. So that's 2 per job. They were $750. It's $1,500 per job every day, that I spent. I didn't spend it every day, but I spent to make sure that we were doing our best. That didn't work. So then I got a metal detector, and I literally was having guys roll with this hand and metal detect with this hand. Just walking through the yard trying to make sure they got everything. And still, they were so frustrated because they were the most powerful magnet, beep, beep, beep. The thing was beeping like crazy because there's all kinds of nails left in there. And so then they had to get down. Now they're extra bad because now they're trying to improve everything, but it was taking way longer because they're on their hands and knees trying to find that nail that's beeping, So then, of course, that was a system no one wanted to do because it's created a ton of work, But I maximized what I could do with tarps, but tarps have holes in them all the time, everywhere. You get a brand new tarp, by the end of the day, you move it 3 or 4 times and there's gonna be some holes in it, and you end up actually sprinkling stuff everywhere. You end up spreading it with a tarp. And we had one job where there was tons of nails out like 40 or 50 feet from the front of the house, and no one could figure out how they got there. Like a whole row of all these nails. And I thought, well, maybe somebody drug a tarp and there was a hole in it, so it just kind of sprinkled them behind. We had to go back to this house like 4 or 5 times. And we ended up literally just on our hands and knees, just kind of raking through the grass with our fingers. And we still found, after the 3rd pass, we still found a ton of nails. And another job site, the same crew, we realized later, they were using these really big tarps because they were trying to cover a whole ton of the yard. So all these nails are getting on there and the wind is blowing the tarp, whoosh, whoosh, and it's throwing the nails farther and farther away from the house, just creating more and more problems. Everything I was doing was improving in some way, but creating a new problem in another way. And so I just got so angry over time, mad.
I've never heard any roofing business owner talking so passionate about nail problem. Well, have it, like I have it. Well, it bothers me like a lot.
It's just because I guess I set my mind to it and I was determined to solve the problem. Because at the point we're doing 1,000 roofs a year, those problems actually compound. It doesn't go down from 1 in 10, it goes up to 3 in 10. So when you're doing 2 roofs a week, you get a call every couple months. When you're doing 35 to 50 roofs a week, you don't get 5 calls. It's not, you get 15 calls.
I think 3 major problems with the complaints in the roofing business. It has nothing to do with the roof.
Yeah.
It's a cleanup. Mm-hmm. It's how fast you answer your phone calls.
Yep.
And what you do in your vehicles. When you're speeding in neighborhoods or on the highways, those top 3 are the biggest liability for any business owners, and nobody talks about it.
Right.
We'll put process in place. Well, CatchAll is solution for one of them. So.
Right. Well, I would agree that nails and trash and communication are the top 2. I would completely agree with that. We've measured it. We used to track the complaint calls and how long it took to resolve them and all that stuff.
Didn't return phone calls.
Yeah.
It could be like estimate We're waiting for the estimate still. It doesn't matter what committee.
Oh, I know. I completely understand. We have some rules and processes in place. Like I told you, the lead people, they track all that and they make sure that everyone gets what they're supposed to get. But anyway, so I was just, every time I tried something that didn't work, I got more determined to solve the problem. And I had a breakthrough when one of the crews that was finally understanding what I was doing, because they had an opportunity to see the customers frustrated a couple times. Most crews don't ever see that, because normally it's the day after the job or 2 days after the job. And sure, sometimes you send the crew back to do it, but most of the time you don't, because you don't want them to mess up that job. You don't want the foreman not at the job. He's at this job site. Those guys are screwing up. You send one of your guys. Most of the time, the crew not even aware that that's happening. Well, this one guy got the opportunity to see a couple people that were frustrated about it. And so he started trying to help. Like, he would get creative too. He would help me make things out of plywood. And we ran out of tarps. I used to have a whole, like when I was a project manager, sales guy, I had an entire truck bed full of tarps that were mine, that I would take to my jobs and I would set them up. And he had seen me do that. He would always help. He was getting creative. And then one day we were out of tarps and there was this section of begonias, like really sensitive flowers. Like you just barely touch them and they break, you know? And he was like, kind of like racking his brain about what we could do. And he went over to his trailer and he pulled that tarp cover off the trailer, detached it from there. And then we used that and we kind of hung it by the corners, from the house and a gutter thing over here. And we made this little shield for them that didn't touch them because they're so delicate.
I was wondering, how did you come up with that idea?
That was kind of a breakthrough.
Similar material as a CatchAll has.
Yes, it's very similar. And so it's not the same, but similar. And so then I realized, oh, dude, this stuff is way better because it doesn't burn the grass, because I was always burning people's grass. Or melt. I'd killed people's bushes before. Whole rows of bushes got baked in the sun, And so I was like, oh man, so I bought a bunch of those, and they're not cheap. But I really didn't figure out I didn't really solve the problem until I could figure out how to create a shield over those things without laying on top of it, the sensitive stuff. And so I started trying to hang stuff from the gutters or nail it into the decking above the gutters, or I created these clips that would like hang it from the fascia, but then it would chip the paint and snap off, and I created more damage. And so we just kept racking our brains and eventually came up with the pole idea, because every little system I made, whether it hung from the gutters or the fascia or whatever, it didn't work on every house. Every house would have to have a different method for setting it up. But once we came across the pole idea, then all I need is a wall. I can put this system up on any wall, anywhere. It could be a commercial job, it could be brick house, siding house, windows, no windows, bushes there, whatever, because all it needs is something to lean against. And so that's when we really started to take off, and we created 5 prototype kits for ourselves. And we used those for almost a year before we started trying to market it to anyone else or anything. Those first kits cost me about $8,000 to set up.
You did it just for yourself? You didn't think about doing the business out of it?
No, I actually thought I was going to keep it proprietary in the beginning. I thought I wanted to be the only roofer with that, because I had already started the patent process.
Do you have patent now?
Yeah.
Awesome.
We have 13, I think, or something, 13 to 18 at this point that are finalized, and here in the next 6 or 8 months we'll end up with 20 plus. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's like a cell phone patent.
Well, I just want to make sure it's all protected,
Sure. When did you decide to make business out of it?
It was probably a year and a half into the process. After we'd had our kits in the field for 8 months or 10 months, we had lots of people asking about it.
Who was your first customer?
Yeah, so the funny part is we had one neighborhood here in town. You were there yesterday. The shoot we did yesterday is in that neighborhood. We put all the prototypes into that neighborhood because that's where we wanted all the business from. And we thought it was going to help us get a lot of business, and it absolutely did. But there was one guy in there who was a competitor of ours. He's a nice guy. We're actually good friends now. We were not, maybe more at odds with each other at this season in time, but he started getting asked, like, hey, do you have that thing that'll like wrap around my house, And he'd be like, no, but we'll do this and we'll do that, and we'll make sure it's all good. And they'd be like, I want that thing. I want the company that's got that thing that they can wrap up my house. And so the first day that it went on sale, he was the first customer.
Wow, so yeah. You're a competitor.
Yeah. Like I said, we're friends now. I help him and support him or whatever. He's a good guy, but at that time we didn't really know each other, and he wasn't our biggest fan. So. But yeah, I have it framed over there in my office. First order was from somebody here in town.
What's your slogan?
slogan for CatchAll? Oh man, you're gonna put me on the spot. It's save time, save money, happy homeowners. The marketing potential of it's really strong. We have a lot of customers who buy it just for that. They don't really know or understand or realize the other benefits. They're like, hey, it's just gonna help us get more jobs, so they buy it. It does create happier homeowners. A lot of them just feel special when you're taking that much time and effort to try to protect what they have. I've also found that when you still end up making a mistake, which is pretty,
Like what kind of mistake?
Let's say you end up smashing one of their bushes, or you spill some paint on the driveway, or whatever typical stuff is. The supply truck knocks the mailbox down as they're getting in it, whatever it is. When they see that you've taken that much time and effort, they have a lot more grace for you when you make a mistake. Because they're like, yeah, I could tell you really tried not to make a mistake. Sometimes they happen, no big deal. But when you make a mistake and everything's just like the Wild West out there and there's trash everywhere, then they're like, of course you made a mistake. Look, you guys just throwing shit everywhere. Of course you made a mistake. So it really goes a long way with your customers. It helps you get jobs around your build. You can supplement insurance companies for using it. If you're strategic about that, you can get it a measurable percentage of the time. And then we have a lot of retail people and even insurance people that upsell it. They charge customers for using it because it does cost money and take time and effort to set it up.
Yesterday you mentioned that you can supplement insurance company for extra protection.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so what we do at my roofing company is we bill for the roofer labor hour for specialty landscape protection. So
how much is that?
Roofer labor hours is like $97 an hour, and so we normally charge between 4 and 6 hours to set it up and tear it down and move it from job to job or whatever. Complicated jobs like the one you saw yesterday, it'll get more hours than that because you saw how crazy all that took a long time to set that up.
So like 8-10 hours in that?
Yeah, something like that. But that job really needed it though. People go, man, I'm not going to take an hour to set up, with 8 guys or whatever, take an hour to set that up. And I'm like, if you don't, you're going to pay for this, you're going to pay for that, and the cleanup is going to take. The cleanup on that job.
Do you pay extra your crews to set them up, or you just give it to them?
If it's an unusual scenario, certainly. Most of the time, though, we just give it to them. They use it as their tool. We bought it. They use it because it has our marketing on it.
To use to install it as their process?
They never really like it in the beginning because they think, what we're doing works fine, But part of it is that they don't see the repercussions like we do. They usually just don't get the pain of that problem. So that's a part of their perspective. They're like, it's not really worth it. But we found usually a crew uses it for like a week to 2 weeks. They get to where they can set it up a lot faster. They understand how the system works. They know how to use it in different situations. Then they can start to get creative with it. I've seen people make like teepees over Japanese maples. Like put all the poles in, tie them up, nets all around it. And once they realize that they can get creative with it and solve problems, they start to see the value. But when they set it up right, when they realize how much time they're saving on cleanup, they're like, oh yeah, it's a no-brainer. They don't want to give it back after that because they realize they're saving a lot of time. But we have given it to all of our crews. I don't think we've had very many crews purchase it for themselves because it has the marketing on it. They can't really use that. It's been roofing companies buying it to use at their jobs. And I don't know that you'd really be able to supplement for it if your crew did it and you didn't have to pay for the usage of it or something. So it's just, at this point, it's been more so in the control of the roofing companies themselves to buy it.
Are you willing to give away one CatchAll system for one of our fans at Roofing Insights?
Absolutely. Let's say whoever comes up with the best selling point.
The best selling point of CatchAll system. Mm-hmm. So guys, come up with the best selling point in your sales presentation, I guess, for your potential homeowners.
Yeah.
Why do you need it? Why is it so good? And how will it help your business to sell more jobs? The best selling point. Comment below to this video. Heath Personal will pick up a winner and will ship you one of the systems. It's about $3,000 value. So very generous, and we appreciate it. If you're one of those lucky owners who already have CatchAll, please let the world know how do you like it. Comment below, share your experience. If you're in the market to buy one, we have a special promo code for you. Insights 500 will give you $500 off your next purchase. Use Insights 500 at the checkout, or comment below for a chance to win one brand new system of CatchAll by Heath Hicks.